ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಥ್ರೆಡ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, so how the communication will be taking place between those things. So suppose if I have a function which is written within a program, if the particular function, if I call it within the particular main program, then the particular function will be executed, right? So but the function should be defined within the same program whatever you had written, but it will be defined outside the program. That is in case of higher level language programming. The same thing will be followed even for lower level, that is assembly level language programming as well. So there is a communication from one thread or to the other thread, means from one program to the other set of program by using a name called as function calling. So the same thing synonymously you can apply here for task communication. Whenever you have one task, more than one task within a process, and if you want to communicate from one task to the other task, how we are going to communicate? So is there any way for communicating, or is there any initialization process, or is there any set of rules that has to be followed for this task communication? All those things we are going to discuss in today's class. So today's class topic is about task communication. So whenever you have a system which contains more than one process, or in a process when you have more than one task, and if you want to communicate from one task to the other task within a system, or one process to the other process within a system, then this task communication will come into a picture. So it is not that if you have some two tasks within a process, both the tasks should communicate and necessary ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, there is no necessary that both the tasks should communicate, and it is not that it should not communicate. So if it want to share the data from one process to other process, or from one thread to other thread, then it has to communicate the data, or the means the information. So in such a case we are going to use this task communication. So and this task communication will be taken care by the kernel of the system, that is operating system. So this task communication can be of two different types. That is, means this task communication is with respect to multiple tasks or multiple processes which is running parallelly or concurrently. Just an example I can say here. So if I'm considering a system here, okay, this is a complete system, and if I have this as the process 1, and if I have this as the process 2. Okay, this is the complete system here. If I want to communicate or send the data from here to here, and if I want to get the data from here to here, means the operation of communication should be between the task, or between the process which is present in a system, or between the task or the threads which is present in a process. So in such case, this process of communication is said to be the task communication. Okay, and this operation is taken care by operating system. So there are two different types. One is cooperating process, and the other one is competing process. So first one is the cooperating process. So the process requires the input from the other process to complete its execution. That is called as cooperative process. So suppose here in the same way I can explain you. Here I have some one process. Let me rewrite the diagram once again, just a second. Okay. So here I have one process, and here I have one process. So within the process I have some task which has to be executed, but there is a parameter through which this particular task will complete its execution. That particular parameter value should be obtained by the other task. So from here, if I get a value for this function, then only this function execution time can take place. So this type of communication between process and other process is called as cooperating process. So just a second, if I can explain you that with respect to an ATM. Okay, so here in an ATM, so let me consider first the you have one process in order to get the password. So this particular process, as soon as you enter your card, it will check whether it will ask for your password. Once the password is okay, I mean once the password which you had entered is correct, then this process will communicate to the next process, and this process will ask you whether you need to go for withdrawal, or whether you need to go for deposition, or whether you need to know the status of your account, all those things. Okay, within that you have for withdrawal, you have one different process for depositing. You have some other process, some 2 to 3 process you are having within this process, right? So here, suppose if I go for withdrawal, then this withdrawal will go for the withdrawal communication process. So this particular process will wait for the information given from this process. This is nothing but inter-process communication. This process will not execute until the input is given from this process. This is an example of cooperative process. So the withdrawal will get the amount, and this amount will be given to the dispatch section process, and this dispatch section process will dispatch the amount to you. So here each and every process are interrelated to other one. Okay, this process will not work without this one, this process will not work without this. So likewise, all these process are interrelated, and each and every process is will depend upon the other process. Means without getting the input from the other process, the if suppose without getting the password, I am not able to see the withdrawal status or depositing status, anything. Means once this process gives an authentication, then only it goes for the second process. So then here the third process will execute. Means if I want to deposit or if I want to withdraw anything related to that operation is possible only by the input given from the second process. So when means the process requires, this particular process require the input from this, but this process require the input from this. So whenever the operation or execution of the process will complete depending upon the input given by the other process, then it is said to be cooperative process. I hope you understood about the cooperative process. So next, just a second, I'll erase this. So next you have competing process. So here you used to share the information from one process to other process, but here they won't share any information. The competing process do not share anything among themselves, but they share through the system, but they will share only the system resources. Means ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು process ಇದೆ, ಓಕೆನಾ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು process ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಇಂದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಟೇಕ್ this is system 1 process 1 and this is process 2. So no data will be transferred from between the process here. So that is not possible. So what type of things will be shared here? So suppose if I have a display unit here, or if I have some sensor elements here, so this can also use that resource and this can also use that resource. Means this process can use this resource while this process is executing, the other process will wait. Once it completes its process execution, then this process will come into picture and it starts executing here. So it is nothing but the resources will be shared by the process, but the data will not be shared by the process. So depending upon the scenario in which you are performing the operation, and in which we are communicating the data through different tasks. You can either choose to use the competing process of task communication or the cooperative process of task communication. So as I told you, the competing process do not share anything among themselves, means the data will not be shared, but they can share the system resources. It can be in the form of files, or it can be in the form of display devices, anything, any other system resources. If you want, you can share it in competing process. So in cooperative process, that is in this cooperative process, I told you can exchange the information. Using that exchanging of information only, the completion of execution will of the process will be taking place. So in this cooperative process of exchanging information, there are two different methods which are followed for communicating the data. That is cooperation through sharing and cooperation through communication. So the cooperation through sharing is nothing but the data, the exchanging of data will be taking care by through some shared resources. You have certain shared resources. Using those shared resources, you can communicate the data from one process to the other process. Next, you have cooperative cooperation through communication. They'll communicate between the process, but the data will not be shared here. So no data is shared between the process, but they'll communicate for synchronization. Andre suppose one example. If I have a process here, okay, and if I have a process here, and both this process are present within a single system or a single application, I have a particular task which has to be executed one, and I have a task which has to be executed two. So in case of this cooperative, through sharing, in the sense I can share the data from this process to here, and I can share the data from this process to here. So this is regarding the first part. Okay, that is cooperative scheduling part. So next, cooperative through communication, in the sense I'll explain you here. So suppose if you have a process 1, next you have a process 2 here, next you have a process 3. So after completing the execution of process 1, it can't execute process 3 until and unless the process 2 is executed. So in such a case, there is no data communication, but it will synchronize here between the two processes here. Once this execution means the operating system, what it will do, it will execute the first task, then it will go for the second task or the process, it will execute the second one, and again it will come back to the third one. Means the synchronization between the execution of the process will be taken care by the operating system. But here there is no sharing of data, just it is synchronizing. After completing this, the next task or thread cannot be executed which is present in a process. It will be completing its execution only until and unless when the second process, means the second thread, completes its execution. So there is a synchronization between the different threads or the task which within a process, such that there is a complete execution process that will be taken care smoothly by the operating system. So this is about cooperation through communication. So how the communication will be taking place? I told you here the data is shared. Here the through the synchronization, proper synchronization, the execution is taking care, all those things. So how the data is shared, how the communication system is synchronized in a well mannered by the operating system, all those things we are going to discuss here. So the mechanism through which the process or task communicate with each other is called as inter-process communication or inter-task communication. So ಈಗ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಡೇಟಾ ಕಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಡೇಟಾನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಡೇಟಾನ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ದ ಡೇಟಾ ಈಸ್ ಶೇರ್ಡ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದ ಟೂ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಇಂಟರ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಶನ್. So similarly here I have different threads or different tasks. So once this is completed, then this will come into picture, and once this is completed, the third task will come into picture. This is called as inter-task communication. This is called as inter-process communication system. So the mechanism through which the process or the task will communicate with each other is said to be the inter-process communication, or it is also called as IPC. It can also be called as inter-task communication. So this IPC, that is inter-process communication, plays an important role for the smooth execution of the process present in a system. Means this IPC is essential for process coordination. As I told you, for data to be transferred or for proper synchronization of all the process which is present within a system, if it should execute in a proper way, then this IPC, which is coordinated by the operating system, will come into picture. So there are different types of IPC mechanisms which are followed by the operating system. So IPC mechanisms ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡೇಟಾ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಶೇರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ synchronize with respect to different process, how synchronized they are to work together to complete the particular execution. All those things we are going to explain here. So these are the three different mechanisms which we have. That is shared memory, how the data memory is shared between the two process or two different tasks, and it can be in terms of pipes. So pipes is a shared memory concept. So just I'll explain you. Next you have memory mapped objects. Next you have message passing, means passing the message from one task to the other task or from one process to the other process, and it can be in terms of mailbox, or it can be in terms of signaling, or it can be in terms of message. The third one is remote procedural call and sockets, that is RPC. So these are the three different mechanisms. We are going to see one after the other now. What is shared memory and what is pipes, memory mapped objects. Next, what is message passing, what is RPC and all. First, we'll see the shared memory. In that, we'll see what are pipes and memory mapped objects. So shared memory, by hearing that only we can understand that the memory is shared by more than one process or one thread, right? So see here, according to here, you have one area of memory which is used for storing the data by the process 1 as well as process 2. Okay, means whatever the data which is stored in the memory can be shared by process 1 and means can be shared to process 1 and process 2. It is not that some area is used only for process 1 or some area is used for only for process 2. So how many ever the data that are stored within this shared memory area can be accessed by both process 1 and process 2 here. So the process shares some area of memory to communicate among them. So I told you here, so one data, this particular process will complete its execution by getting the data from the process 1. So by getting the data from the process 1, it completes its execution, and the rest part of the task will be completing by getting the processed data from this. So it is nothing but the data can be used by the process 1 as well as process 2. So this is how the shared memory concepts is used here. So how this share means how the data will be accessed by the process 1 and process 2 within the shared memory area, that are done by using these pipes as well as the memory objects. The same thing has been written here. See here, this communication model will follows the shared memory and the message passing. Shared memory and the message passing. So how it is done here? So see here, you have process A and process B. Here I had told in terms of process 1 and 2, but here I am talking about process A and B. Okay, so within the operating system or a kernel, so suppose if I process A and if I have process B. Okay, so suppose the process A uses the data which is present in the shared memory, and the same data memory, shared memory, is used by the process B. Here it is explained in this way, the same thing has been explained here. So suppose if I have here, okay, listen here, so there is a memory, a shared memory which is allocated. Okay, so suppose if the process B wants some data from process B wants some data from process A to get it processed, then what it will do, the data which is stored in process, means the data which is accessed by process A will be stored in the shared memory, and the same data can also be accessed by process B for completing its execution. So similarly, it can be in the vice versa manner as well. So the whatever the data which is processed by process B can also be accessed by process A. So through pipes and memory mapped objects. So next we'll see what do you mean by pipes and what do you mean by memory mapped objects here. Just a second. Data will be shared within the process here through the shared memory concept. So this shared memory concept can be implemented or it can be of two different pipes and the other one is memory mapped object. First we will see how the data is shared through pipes and how the data. So pipes is nothing but it is a shared memory which is accessed by the different processes which are communicating through it. So it follows client server architecture here. So suppose let me explain you with an example. So if I have a process 1 P1 and if I have a process 2 P2, if I want to communicate the data between process 1 and process 2, then I'm using this inter-process IPC communication, that is pipe here, pipe memory sharing technology. So which is used to send the data between the processor. So it follows client server technology. The process which creates a pipe is known as pipe server. So if this process wants any data from this process, then this process will create the pipe. So this is called as the pipe server, and the process which connects to the pipe is said to be the process client. Okay, so if I want some other process which has to be connected, so whichever the process which is in need of data, that will be acting as a pipe server, and whichever the process to which it is connected to the end terminal or from where the data has been accessed, it is said to be the pipe client. So the pipe can be considered as an information or a medium for sending the data between the two ends. One is the process server, that is the pipe server, and the other one is the pipe client. And it can be, and this can be unidirectional, means only from server to client the information can be sent, or it can be bidirectional, from server to client and client to server you can send the information bidirectionally. Okay, depending upon the type of information which you want, you can use it. So suppose just an example, and I can explain you here. So if there is a process 1 and if there is a process 2 here, if this process 1 needs some data for its execution, then this develops a pipe. This terminal will be acting as a pipe server. This terminal will be acting as a pipe client. So the it will request for the information, that data will be accessed by the process 2 through the pipe here. So this is two-way communication, means it will ask, it will search for this and it will give here. So suppose if it is accessing only one way, means just it is sending the data from P1 to P2 here, then it is said to be unidirectional. After getting the data from P1, if it is processing and sending back the data to P1, there should be two different channels for sending and receiving between the client and the server, then it is said to be bidirectional. So the same thing as I told you here. So the unidirectional pipe allow the process connecting at one end of the pipe to write the data to the other end. So this will be the pipe server part, and this will be the pipe client part. So the server is asking an information and the client will be giving the information here. So for asking the information will be in read mode, writing giving the information will be in write mode. So this is a unidirectional pipe operation, that is unidirectional pipe operation, which allows the process for communicating to write and to read the data from the other end. So if it is bidirectional, in the sense you can read and write, and from the other process also you can do it in the reverse way. So this, whatever the pipes means, the communication which are the communication which is taking place through the pipes will be implemented by the kernel itself, that is operating system. So Microsoft Windows has two different types of inter-process communication that will be taking place through the pipes. One is the anonymous pipes and the other one is named pipes. So anonymous in the sense there will be no name given to the pipes. That means the pipes which you are using for communicating between the process will be unnamed. It won't be named, and these are unidirectional pipes used for transferring the data between the process. So next you have named pipes. So this named pipes, in the sense the pipe will be given a name and it will be named according to the operation which it is taking, means between what process it is communicating. Using that it will be named, and it can be unidirectional or it can be bidirectional, which can be used for transferring the data. Even here in named pipes also, you'll be having pipe server and pipe client for transferring the data. Whichever it is, means whichever the process is initiating the data sharing is said to be pipe server, and whichever the end through to which the process will be receiving the data is said to be the pipe client. It can means if it is unidirectional, one will be server and other one will be client. This named pipes can be unidirectional and bidirectional. So both the things, both the ends can be unidirectional, means both the things can be acting as a server or as a client. So suppose if I have process 1 and if I process 2, if it is a unidirectional, from here to here, if I am transferring unidirectional, in the sense this will be acting as a server, this will be acting as a client. So on this, this can act as server and this can act as a client. So suppose if it is a bidirectional, first time it will be acting as a server, this will be acting as a client. Next time when this is transferring from here, and this will be acting as a server and this will be acting as a client. So in case of named pipes, if it is bidirectional, both the process can be named as a server or as a client, depending upon the situation, how it is transferring the information between the process. So, and this named pipes, whichever you are used here for communicating between the process, and this named pipes can be within the system on which it is operating, or it can be on the different system. Through this pipes, you can access the information of different process which is present on the other system. But these two should be connected to through a network here. So if you are connecting this both the systems through a network, then this inter-process communication, that is IPC, through these pipes can be done by unidirectional way or it can be done in a bidirectional way. So this is about how the data is stored in using the pipes here. So next we have completed the pipes part. In the shared memory concept, we have completed pipes. So next we have memory mapped objects. So memory mapped, usually in case of real-time operating system or a real-time kernel, the memory will be segregated in terms of blocks. So you have block 1, you have block 2, you have block 3. Likewise, you have block n. Whichever the process that coming to picture, that process, the memory will be allocated in terms of blocks to that particular process. So whenever the memory mapped object is a shared memory technique, so here it is a shared memory technique in which the real-time kernel will be allocating this different shared memory for different multiple purpose here. So this first block of memory will be allocated for first process which is coming into picture in the queue for its execution, and second process will be allocated with the second block of memory. But all these three different block of memory will be of same size here. So whenever a particular a process has been created and it will be allocated with a block of memory, it will be accessing the part of the memory by using objects. So by using objects you can the process can create an object, and using that particular object it can use this particular block of the memory. Okay. uh, each and every block will be having its own address, right? So this is called as the physical address which is present here for this block 1. Similarly, you have an unique physical address for the second set of block memory, and you have a physical address for the third set of block memory which is allocated. So along with this physical address you have something called as virtual address space. So this virtual address space is nothing but, so in this particular address you'll be having a set of memory locations, address of the memory locations through which you are acting. So ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾದರೂ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಈ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ನ ನಾನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ I need to get this address from this particular first block of the memory location. I can go to there and I can store the data whatever I want. So virtually I am accessing this part of the memory through this memory block, that is virtual address. So any process which it wants to communicate or which it wants to share the data with the other can use this particular physical memory area, or it can use this virtual memory area for its operation. So this is about memory mapped operation. I completed this shared memory now. So next we have something called as message passing. In this we will be seeing message queue, mailbox and signaling. So message passing is nothing but it is a mechanism which is used for transferring the information or data from one process to the other process, or from one thread to the other thread. Even we were doing the same thing in this shared memory also. We were sharing the data from one process to the other process. Then what will be the difference between this message passing and the shared memory? In case of this message passing technique, so see, the main difference between the shared memory and the message passing technique is that through shared memory, I'll be sharing the complete set of data which is between the process. So suppose if I process 1 and if I have process 2, if I have a shared memory here, means whatever the data which I have here, that can be completely shared between the process 1 and process 2. So but here in case of message passing, so process 1 and process 2, if I'm passing a message, whatever the data which I'm passing between the process, only that set of data will be shared between the processes here. So instead of having the access to the complete shared memory block, I am giving the information, only the restricted amount of information which is necessary for its operation between the process here. So the message pass, the shared memory, lots of data can be shared, whereas only limited amount of information will be shared or passed through this message passing technique. So if I'm, what is the advantage of this? It is nothing but overwriting of the data can be controlled here, so that the data can be stored in a secured way. So based on the message passing operation, there are different types of message passing. techniques which are followed by the operating system. One is message queue, the other one is mailbox, and the other one is signaling. So first we'll see what do you mean by message queue. So this queue is nothing but a set of locations which are stored one after the other, and this queue will be following first in first out manner. So whatever the information, so see here you have first in first out, first all the message queue, all these locations will be empty. Whatever the, so here you have process 1 and you have process 2. Whatever the message that will be coming into this queue will be transferred from process 1 to the process 2 here. So and it will be processed in terms of objects. So with so this message queue is a FIFO queue process which stores the messages temporarily in the system defined by the object, and it is passed to the desired or the destined process at last. Usually the process which wants to communicate will be communicating through this message queue itself. So suppose if I want to send the information, so suppose I have some 7 different process at the end, P2 to P8, okay, and this process want to communicate to P4. So P1 want to communicate to P4. What happens is, so first it will send the address or send the name. So first P1 will gives to which particular process I need to send this particular message. So it will be, if I want to communicate between P1 to P4, so first it will give the through this queue, the first slot it will be allocated for the address specified for which the communication should take place. Then again it will be sending the data after this. So if I'm keeping this in the queue, then this queue, what happens is operating system will communicate the message from P1 to P4. Similarly, if I want to receive any data, so to which particular process I need to receive and what is the data which has to be received, that will be sent here in the queue. So yeah, using this message queue process, we can send and receive the message between the different processes. So here process 1 will send the information to message queue and the process 2 will receive. So the same thing I had explained between process 1 and process 4. So next you have message queue, the same thing. It can be 2 different types of message queue you have synchronous messaging and asynchronous messaging. So after sending the information through the message queue to process 2, after sending it won't wait for the acknowledgement. It won't see whether the data has been correctly received by the process 2 or not. It won't wait for any acknowledgement. This is said to be asynchronous. If it sends the data to the process 2, and if the process 2 sending an acknowledgement signal, and this process 1 will wait for the acknowledgement signal, and then only the proper communication will be taken place. If it is operating in this way, then it is said to be synchronous messaging. So these are the 2 different types of messaging techniques. Asynchronous messaging will not wait for the acceptance, whereas synchronous messaging will wait for the acceptance from the other process. And one more thing, in case of asynchronous, once the data is sent, as it won't wait for acceptance, it will go for next operation. But in case of synchronous, when a particular process or a thread is invoked to send a message, that particular process will be blocked until the other process will be accepting its message. So this is about message queue. Next you have mailbox. So mailbox is the normal mailbox is used for just posting the messages. So he'll be having process 1 or the task. So this is explained with respect to task. Whichever the process that wants to communicate with this will be communicating through the mailbox here. So you have this mailbox. So suppose if you have n number of tasks here, so from task 1 2 3 4 until task n, so whichever the task that wants to communicate will be subscribed to this particular mailbox. Then once it is subscribed, it will be receiving all the messages. if it does not want to access any information, you can unsubscribe it. So the same concept is applicable here. So the thread which creates the mailbox is known as mailbox server, and the threads which will be accessing the information which is given by the mailbox are called as the mailbox clients. So the mailbox will post the messages through the mailbox. Server will post the messages through the mailbox to the different clients which are subscribed to the things. So this is about the mailbox. So the mailbox creation, subscription, message reading, all these things will be maintained by the operating system. The operating system will be taking care, and it will be using this mailbox system for communicating the data between the process. So the difference means almost the functionalities of all these things will be same. The only difference is the number of messages. In case of message passing, in case of message passing, here that is end to end, from one process to other process we are communicating the data. But here in case of mailbox processing, from one terminal you are communicating at a time to more than one client data. ಸೊ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಪಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಎಂಡಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಂಡಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಂಡಿಂದ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ನೋಟ್ಸಿಗೆ the point to multi-point communication can be taken care by this mailbox. So both of them are used for message passing, but here at a time it can be passed for more than one information, for more than one client. So this is used for exchanging the information between two tasks, or between the ISR routine and the task, or between the task and the ISR routine and everything. So it is a point to point communication, or it can be point to multi-point communication as well. The last one is the signaling. So signaling is an notification given from one process to the other process. So whenever the process wants to send the information, the signal will be fired from one process, and that signal will be received from the other process. Means through the signaling process, there will be communication that will be taken care by this process, but there is no information which will be transferred between that. And whichever the particular process will be initiating first through a signal, that will be processed first by the operating system. So this is about the two different types. Next you have RPC, that we'll see in the next class. A second, I need to download the attendance.